Good evening, Abram.
Hey,
How are you?
it has been quite a week for me, but
I bet.
I'm okay now. Things are better now. So I guess the thing that I would like to talk about in my pilch point is we could talk about one of two things. We could either talk about um, one of two articles that I worked on this week. One is sub $100 PC upgrades that sub $100 PC upgrades that'll change your life, or crappy gadgets that you better not buy. Um, so, which one sounds better?
I'm good with either. They're both fun. Ugh.
Fun is the idea. Um, let's
I'm
see. So,
I am definitely heading to Tom's Hardware to see
yeah.
the list of things to avoid anyway. Or the
Yeah. You know what? I think the why don't we do a combination of good and bad? Do buy this, don't buy
Okay.
that.
That's a good idea.
As far as gifts go, good gift, bad gift. Um, some of these I wrote looking at what the prices were last week. Prices have changed on some things, but the point is
Sure.
the general things that you should be getting. So,
Got it. Oh, I didn't realize that the I'd buy that for $9.99 was you. Uh, the Your names don't come up in the RSS feed as the author, so I didn't. But I definitely saw it when I was show prepping.
aha, yes. Well, mm,
My first thought was
I'd rather.
maybe that's Abram, and it is. All right.
Yes. I'd buy that for $999. Best I could do. Um, so yeah, everything else looks fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, somehow I'm just simply not as prepared tonight as I like to be. That. What's today? December 3. That
Yeah.
becomes a 9. Okay. All right. I think everything is in place. There is a slight possibility that at some point I will have a sneezing fit. I don't
Oh no, I'm
think
sorry to
so,
hear that.
but if it happens, just you should be good to keep going. I will duck off camera.
Okay, if that happens, I'll wipe my face off.
That would be hilarious. I get. Oh yeah,
I've been coughed and.
because I have to duck off this way, which which is your direction anyway.
I've
Okay,
been
that would.
coughed and sneezed upon so much the last week and a half or so.
Oh yeah.
You have no idea. And yet, as of today, as of the moment, I don't feel sick, just tired.
I hope
Um,
there's something wood to knock on around you.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I mean, my mother is sick, my wife is sick, my daughter is getting over being very sick,
Oh
and my son is just a slight. He's like just a slight congestion. He's mostly
yeah.
fine. Because he almost never has any.
I
He
had it
almost
right
never gets
here.
really sick.
I
Yeah,
had it right here and nowhere else.
yeah.
Noelle, on the other hand,
Well,
is still coughing weeks later.
yeah. I hate when you have that nagging cough and it just stays. I hate
Yeah.
it.
It's the
you
worst.
know. So yeah,
Yeah,
it is the worst.
the worst.
Um,
All right.
so yep.
You were going to say something.
No, that's it.
Okay. I'm going to hit
That's it.
record and
I'm
let's
good to
do
go.
this.
Let's do it.
This week, Apple Card's future is in question. Netflix Games is adding Grand Theft Auto. Meta's in a privacy mess. And WB's proud of courageous cancellations. It's Sunday, December 3rd, 2023. What? 2023? And this is episode 659 of F5 Live Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, or Snapchat, through our live streaming services, livestream.com, Twitch, our new friends on Kick, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free episodes of F5 Live and Pilch Point, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is, normally, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio. Give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. We love to hear your feedback. If you're not able to join us live, that is okay as well. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Pilch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And of course, you'll find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. Speaking of our YouTube subscription, our community over there, if you have not already joined, just know there is a benefit during January, February, and March, where as the episodes of CES are edited, they become available only for those in the community. There's no descriptions or pretty titles or anything, but the videos are there, so you see them before everybody else. Anyway, that's just a little sales pitch for the the YouTube community. Anyway, it's good to be back. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, Avram. I know you had a busy Thanksgiving.
Oh boy, yeah. I really did. I mean, I had some family stuff going on that was very intense, but besides that, I had the usual very intense work of Black Friday and Cyber Monday,
Yeah.
hunting down deals, writing all kinds of articles to help people find things. It was a mixed bag of a deal year. Things were not There were a lot of things that were not on a great sale, like graphics cards. And then there were things that were on a good sale. But FYI, they're still on a good sale today, and they were on a good sale a couple days before Black Friday. So, what is that? Is that
An Ally.
an Asus ROG Ally?
Yeah.
Aha.
Those were on a great sale.
Interesting. Did you try it yet?
Oh, yeah.
Did you open it up and use it yet?
I
So,
have opened it.
I'm
We've got an unboxing video that'll probably go out tomorrow.
Mhm.
And I've been doing a review on it for about a week. I
So
had
there's
it
that, and then
a
there's
couple of days before.
so now I'm really curious of something. So this is a new Wish um, market, right? New Wish has in a couple of years, although there have been things like this before, where there seems to be a great demand for Nintendo Switch form factor
Mm-hmm.
gaming PCs, right? The
Yep.
Steam Deck really, like, there were things before the Steam Deck, but they were kind of small
Yeah.
companies that nobody really bought and were very expensive. And then the Steam Deck really opened up this market, and then you saw the ROG Ally, and now the Legion Go, which is the same processor as the ROG Ally, and there almost was an Alienware one a couple of years ago that they didn't do. So
Yep.
I hear from people who use these on a regular basis, I hear mixed things like, well, this might not actually, the performance actually isn't that great. Um, how are you finding it? Are you able to play the games you want to play?
So far, I have generally not had any problems, and the problems that I have not been from the hardware, it's been from software, including their own, in fairness.
Mhm.
Some of the not everything deals real well with resolution switch, particularly their launcher software. So like I've been playing some stuff that's that's old 4x3 just because I want to see what emulation does on it. I want to see what direct hardware does on it. And so, playing some really old stuff from 4x3 in full screen,
Mhm.
and then I switch back and I want to change the controller settings or something like that.
Mhm.
Everything's all screwed up. And that could be Microsoft's fault, that could be their fault, that could be, a whole variety of issues. But as far as hardware, I've played modern stuff, I've played mid stuff, I've played emulated really old stuff. So far, the software, like the hardware itself, is generally kept up.
Cool.
Yeah, I like it. I've used the Steam Deck. I've obviously been playing with this a lot more than I did with the Steam Deck, but Alante's got a Steam Deck. I've got this thing. I've had a Legion in my hand. I like the weighting of this. I think the Legion has its weight too high up on the hardware
Hmm.
for me. But I mean that's a nitpicky thing. When I'm holding it, I like the weight to be at the bottom because I'm always afraid that I'm going to do this and lose the device over my
Yeah, I
hands.
mean, my feeling about like the Legion and the Allies, they're a little heavy. I'd
Hmm.
kind of like them to be. I think the Steam Deck is better in that regard because it's smaller. I like. I know they like to go for like the 8-inch screen, but I actually prefer to be closer to the Nintendo Switch and be like
Sure.
7 inches. Um, I don't think like the Legion Go operates it up to 2560 by 1600. And I don't, and while you know how much I love high screen resolution, when you're trying to deal with this kind of integrated graphics CPU, you shouldn't run a game at 2560
Yeah.
by 1600 anyway. So they really should just, like, it shouldn't be more than 10. The screen shouldn't be more than like 1080p.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's, it can't handle, while it would be nice to have that level of fidelity, it can't handle it. So why
And
waste
when you
battery and waste expense
yeah.
on the screen?
And when you look at the size of the thing, the size of the screen versus the pixel density, there's not that much of a difference in all reality. Like from a purely what you see and the interaction with it, the difference is not all that much. So, yeah, I totally agree. And it would be nice maybe if they offered that as a configuration so that you could, dump the price down a little bit. But the
Yeah,
price on these guys, the sale on these guys was impressive over at Best Buy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's good. I feel like we're a couple of years away from it being perfected.
Hmm.
Also, you have to have a certain kind of game to play on it, right? Because there's a lot of PC games that are very keyboard friendly,
True.
and you don't like, yes, you could connect the keyboard to it and put it on your desk, or you could use a virtual keyboard, but it's not really like, the point of
Yeah.
this is to be using it on your lap, using it on the go,
Yeah.
whatever, use, on your couch, in bed, whatever,
I
like,
I
so
always I always see you on the train when I think of these types of
yeah.
devices. Like that is the like
So
you know what I
that's
mean?
that's kind of that. Yes, right. So for those of you who don't live in a public transportation situation, I don't know why you buy it. Uh, but to be fair, right, I don't take this. My son has a Switch. I don't take it with me
Right.
on the train. But
Right.
I will. We will. I will end up just really like tired and lie down on the couch and use it, or in bed or whatever. So yeah, it is good for certain scenarios for
Yeah.
sure. I think. Hmm, I don't know. I think it's an interesting form factor. I think it's like it's not going to replace your gaming PC,
Right.
so it's another device in your life that it's. And is it going to replace your console? Maybe. I don't
Maybe.
know. Like, could you use this instead of an Xbox or instead of a Switch? But maybe not a Switch, because if you want to play the Nintendo games, you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But if you're talking Xbox, um, and even maybe PlayStation, uh, Xbox almost for sure, because so much of the stuff is available through Game Pass and whatnot. You could dock this, hook it up, use an actual Xbox controller. I bet you wouldn't notice the difference all that much, especially now that Microsoft has a new UI for the Xbox app that is being tested. That on a device like this one gives you the ability to shrink the left hand menu down so it's real small and gives you more real estate back on your device. So it, which suggests to me that either Microsoft is really embracing these two devices, or something Microsoft branded in this category is being mulled, which is possible.
it needs to be cheap. It needs to be cheaper. It really
Agreed.
needs to be cheaper, though. I mean, it's just like what did you pay for that on sale?
Uh, I think the sales were instead of instead of 5.99, the base one was 4.99. Instead of 6.99, the top one was 6.19.
Right. So you're getting something that is like $200 more than an Xbox or a
Mm-hmm.
PS5, and it doesn't play games as well.
Yeah, because it's a wider device, right? Because it is just running Windows 11.
Right, right. But I mean, it's just it doesn't play games as well, and you're spending more money on it,
Yeah.
right? And yes, it's a PC, but if you were making this calculation of whether you were going to spend your entertainment money on an Xbox or this, or on
Mm-hmm.
a Switch or this, you could buy an Xbox and a Switch for about the same price, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Not wrong. Not wrong.
So I don't know. I love the idea that PC gaming is going to go in this direction, but I feel like it's
Yeah.
too expensive for what it is.
And uh, regular long-time listeners and viewers of the show will know I'm not afraid to early adopt in order to
Right.
encourage a product category. Right. I had Qi chargers. I was building them into my desk before most people had even heard of the concept, because I wanted to make sure that it existed. I
Yeah, I mean,
I'm good pushing right into a product category that I want to see succeed. Yeah, for sure. This is a Gen 1, right? There are things that they will work out. They will have to figure out pricing, or potentially more categories than just the standard and the extreme, right? But
I think
for for
yeah,
a
I think
first
it should be
for a
less than
first
500.
outing, for a first outing, I think it does well. It
Yeah,
targets who it targets very well, and then at some point they'll figure out that the market is wider than what they targeted this time,
right.
which you
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
which is what always happens, right? The a new company gets into consoles, they are too expensive, and then over time they kind of rejigger. They pull the Kinect out of the box and give you a console for $100 less, right?
yep, yep. Fair enough.
things like that. So we'll see a second or a third generation of these, recalibrate. But I think for a first outing, I think they did a great job with it. And I'll have a full product review up after I have interacted with it some more and gotten to the point where either I'm annoyed, I totally love it, or it's just sitting on a table somewhere. Uh, that's how I like to do my reviews. I like to use them long enough to really have an opinion on them. So, but anyway, we've got some stuff to get down to tonight. So let's do it. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, tablet, Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. Remember, current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. All right. So, since Apple's renaissance with the iMac in the late 90s, the company has started putting its fingers into every industry, seemingly, that it can see. Some of them have succeeded. Some of them are yet to be realized, like the car. And then some of them have been questionable. Apple's foray into the financial world has been a mixed bag. For Apple, it has seemingly been an okay experiment. There's the Apple Card and the Apple Savings Account. Both of those have been underwritten by Goldman Sachs, who is traditionally an investment bank, but decided to get into consumer finance. Well, that foray has been not great. They've actually lost billions in that division, and that division is currently being kind of headed off or flagshipped by the Apple Card, of which Goldman has said has been their biggest point of loss for this category. So Goldman said that they wanted out, or there were rumors that Goldman wanted out. And this week, Apple has basically told them that's okay. So over the next 12 to 15 months, it is expected that the relationship will come to an end. In the meantime, Apple presumably will be looking for a new partner or new partners for these two financial offerings. From a consumer standpoint, the front-facing aspect of all of this will have very little change. With a new issuer, a new card number is likely. And when you make a payment, the payment will go to a different bank instead of Goldman. But payments are made mostly through the Apple Wallet app. So you probably won't notice that either. As far as savings are concerned, same thing. Account numbers, routing numbers, if there's such a thing for an Apple savings account, I don't know, will change. But outside of that, the look and feel will likely not change. But terms could change. With a new partner, the interest rates might change, things like that. There's no telling exactly what will happen. Then there's the possibility that nobody wants in. There's a reason that Goldman was their partner, because other banks turned them down in the beginning. And now with a failure with Goldman, there's a possibility that they struggle to find a new partner. There's rumors that American Express might be interested in underwriting the card, but obviously they don't care at all about the savings account. It's an interesting position that they're in. Right, Avram? Normally, Apple, Google, Microsoft, they have a consumer-facing service. They they're having trouble with, they can just, cut it. But terminating something like this is a little bit more of a challenge. There's people
Yeah,
who
well, they're in
rely
the
on it.
banking. They're in the banking business, right? But
Yeah.
if it's not profitable, they will get out of it, right? For
Hmm.
sure, because they're in this to make money, not to make a statement about banking. But
Right.
I think this is a place where all of the tech companies want to play, particularly if you're Elon Musk, right?
Yeah.
Uh, because didn't he say he wanted X to be to have all your financial information,
Which in
right?
fairness, Dorsey basically did the same thing. He just put a different name on it. Cause,
Right,
cause he's what, Cash App or the other one? Square. Oh, the same
right,
company.
right. Right. So they all want this data because it's very valuable data to be involved in, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, of course they want to do it. Apple has an entree there that others do not, right? Like you have wallet services like Google Wallet, but they're not your banker,
Right.
right? So on the other hand, what we may be
And you
seeing is maybe the reason why,
and you can't
yeah,
apply for a credit card directly. You can't open a savings account directly in Google Wallet or Samsung Wallet, right? Like you can with Apple. It's all just right
right.
there.
Right. Well, I think the thing is, they really like that. But on the other hand, it's very high touch. So they have a company that does this for them, which
Hmm.
is Goldman Sachs now. And now they're going to need to have a replacement. And so, but Apple's not really taking on the risk, or I
Right.
don't know, maybe they are, but they're not having to get their hands dirty with the kind of the financial services business, right?
Right.
So they're
Exactly.
having their apple pie and eating it too, right?
It's essentially the exact
Right?
same concept as, I spent a decade with Radio Shack. We don't reference it too much, but we had a, Radio Shack credit card. It was underwritten by Citibank.
But
We
there's a
didn't
lot of
have
credit cards like
we didn't
that.
have a lot of, uh, you know, risk in that. Citibank took on all of that risk. At some point, it changed. I think we had 3 or 4 different underwriters over the years, but for us, we didn't take on a ton of the risk. The underwriter did, and it's probably the same thing with Apple. Apple's taken on very little of the risk, but they get some of the reward. Whereas, Goldman's
Well,
taking on a lot of risk, and from the sounds of it, has lost a ton.
yeah. So it seems to me that there's different levels of risk because there's a lot of credit. It's it seems to be very easy or desirable for banks to offer branded credit cards.
Hmm.
I mean, there's all kinds of branded credit cards.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a branded credit card. Radio Shack had one, but you go out today and there's a lot of companies that have branded credit cards, right?
You can
And
get a
and they're
Home
always underwritten,
Depot, a Lowe's,
but
a Target, a Best
right.
Buy.
So clearly, banks have no problem with underwriting credit cards. They have
Right.
no problem. That's great news for them. They get another customer on the hook that they can, and those things never have the best interest rate,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
and in fairness, there are 2 different versions of it, right? So with Radio Shack, we had the Radio Shack card, which was an in-house card, could only be used in our stores. So, you know,
only used.
so that was, and J.C. Penney has one, Target has one, that are Lowe's and Home Depot have them, that are store credit cards, which are one thing.
Right.
But then at some point near the end of my tenure with the company, we also had a Radio Shack branded MasterCard, which was separate from the Radio Shack card. And,
Yes, there's
the
those too.
risk
Yeah.
the risk reward is different there, right? Like there's an Amazon, I think it's a MasterCard, branded MasterCard that I think is possibly Citibank, that technically doesn't really have anything to do with Amazon except that you get Prime
Right.
with it.
Right. It's always a benefit of some kind, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this one,
It's always a
the
benefit
Apple,
of some
the
kind.
Apple Card is more like the Radio Shack MasterCard than it was the Radio Shack in-house card, because it is a MasterCard. It can be used anywhere, and that's a different level of risk for everybody involved, because, you know, when you're talking about an in-house card, you've bought stuff from the store that already had markup on it. If they have a big loss on it, you know, there's a middle ground between collections and the existing profit margin on the product. But when you're talking about this, unless you're buying something from Apple, they don't have that same, you know, middle ground where there can be an agreement on fixing it with Goldman.
Yep. So,
So
I
it's
mean,
interesting.
good good for Apple, maybe not so good for the bank that partners with them. But Apple's always able to command, uh, terms that are favorable to Apple,
Yeah.
right? They're always able to get more out of partners than other people that can because of the cachet of their name. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, true. And, you know, it's probably why Goldman, who has not really had a consumer facing service, in deciding to get into the consumer business, decided to partner with Apple, because they figured, you know, that silver logo usually
We're going to get
means
in it with someone.
success.
Yes. Yes. You know, what I, if you were to go back to like 1998 or 1997, let's say, and tell somebody that that Apple logo usually means success, they would be very surprised.
They'd call
They
you
would be
crazy. You'd get locked up.
they'd be very surprised. I remember there was a quote from Michael Dell at one point saying somebody asked him what he would do if he was taking over Apple at the time that Steve Jobs was taking over Apple for the second time, and he said he would close it down and give the money back to the shareholders. I think that's what he said, something like that. So imagine that, and then you have, right?
Oh, there are
Imagine
so
that.
many great quotes around the future of Apple, because Ballmer had at least one, if not two, around the iPhone. In 2 years, we won't even be talking about the iPhone, or whatever he said.
Right. So Apple, despite my beefs with them, Apple has proven to be a constant success.
Yeah.
So
And
I give them all the kudos for that. They've been a constant success.
In my opinion, it's generally like Bose, where they've just managed to make a name and not necessarily a product. But I know not everybody agrees with that.
Right. I mean,
they've done a thing. They've done a really impressive thing. They literally, hand out of the grave, returned from not just obscurity, but true, like, door closed bankruptcy, to be one of the 3 most valuable companies by market cap in the world.
Yep.
It's impressive. Financial services may not be their next iPhone. It may not be their next iPhone. It might be their next Newton. I was gonna say I was gonna say Pippin, but it actually, made it to market. So, we'll definitely see, over the next 12 to 15 who they're talking to. I don't suspect that Citibank is going to come back, because they publicly said they weren't interested once before, in early negotiations before Goldman. And after the Goldman failure, I don't know that that's going to be like, oh, well, Goldman couldn't do it.
Oh, yeah.
We're in this time.
Let's do it ourselves. Yes.
So I don't suspect that that's what we're going to see. But there is talk about Amex taking over the card, which, I don't know. we'll see how
The card
negotiations
is,
go.
as we said, I think it's easy. I think it's low risk to take over a credit card. I think any company that does credit cards like Amex or Citibank or whatever or Capital One would be happy to um, have an Apple branded card.
They would just have
It's the
to.
banking part of it that
Well, Goldman was losing tons before the savings account was even announced. They were losing money on the card.
mm,
But Goldman is not a consumer company. And I think that's an important aspect here. Apple partnered with Goldman, who is an investment bank, who
yeah. I mean, they
wanted to
also
get
might not have
into
been.
consumer.
Yeah,
You
so maybe
know?
that's their problem. Also, maybe it was
Right.
not something they're good at. Get
Yeah.
somebody who is good at dealing, who is used to dealing with consumers.
Exactly. So, it's one of those things. Yes, there's a legal reason why Apple isn't the one underwriting their own card. But, it's also not their realm of expertise. And they should have gone and found
Yep.
somebody for whom it was, and they
Yep.
didn't. They
Yep.
decided to run an experiment with another company that was also running an experiment. That experiment has very clearly
Yes.
failed. It's time to reset with a control group. That control group would be
Yep.
Amex, because it's also really easy to run a savings account, right? It's if that's your expertise, you get Chase behind it. A savings account will be fine. But neither of these services are what Goldman's good at, and I think that has caused problems all around. So we'll see what happens. But as far as the consumer side of things, very little will change for people who have it. Interest rates might change a little bit, both for the card and the savings account. And you might need to get a new card. But outside of that, the likelihood is that nothing will change on the outside. The way you interact with it will remain exactly the same. This week's Pilch Point with Avram Pilch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to pilchpoint.live/PureVPN. That little woo in the music gets me every time. Anyway, it's that time of year. People are looking for gifts and ideas, and you've got some advice for us, right, Avram?
I do.
Excellent.
Um, so I'm going to tell you good and bad, right? So first of all, it was we just went through Cyber Monday and Black Friday, and we wrote myself and my colleagues wrote a whole bunch of articles about cool things to buy for yourself. And by all means, by the way, you could buy these things for yourself, uh, and you might want to, because a lot of the things that we saw on sale are either still on sale or will dip in and out of sale over the next couple of weeks leading up to the Christmas holiday. And possibly even after the Christmas holiday. So what are the things that are good to buy and what are the things that are not good to buy? So first of all, let's talk about some things that are not good to buy. Do not buy anyone, including and especially yourself, a non-mechanical keyboard. Now, that is a regular keyboard with rubber domes underneath. It's like those poppets that my kids have. I don't know if you've seen those things. They're like little rubber things, and people like to fidget with them. And they pop the little rubber domes in them up and down. That's what you're typing on. Don't do it. Get a mechanical keyboard with your choice of switches. Now, it will, if you don't have one, it will change your life. If you're buying one for a friend or a relative, it will change their life. The real question is, what do they like? Do they like clicky keys like I do? Do they like ones that have some tactile feedback but don't make any noise? Those are called tactile keys, switches. Or do they want ones that just they have no bump in them? They go straight down, and we call those linear switches, linear keys. Um, so those are the main things to. That's one of the main things to keep in mind when you're buying someone a keyboard or buying yourself a keyboard is which of those do you like? If you're big into typing and for productivity, and you don't mind a little tiny bit of noise, which I like because it kind of gives me some auditory feedback as well, then of course I recommend Clicky Keyboard. Um, for those who are primarily into gaming, you actually can fire faster with a linear keyboard because you have less resistance. Um, and then, sort of for folks who like to type, but they're, I don't know, sensitive about making a little tiny bit of noise, then there's the tactile switches. So how cheaply can you get a mechanical keyboard these days? Very cheaply. Now, I'm not saying they're all equally great, but I'm going to show you some things. So let me share my screen up here. So here we have, um, so if I go into Amazon, I look for mechanical keyboards, right? And you want to make sure it's a mechanical keyboard, right? You'll see that I can see the ones for as low as $30. Now, some of these are brands that I've not necessarily heard a lot about. Royal Kluge, we have heard of, seemingly okay. You can get this one that looks like an old NES. Now, here's one, for example, FLE Sports, a full size keyboard for $60. Not bad. Now, what I personally like, when I of course love my Akko 3098, which is what I'm working with. You can get a 3098 N or B. If you get one with a B, then it's actually wireless. Have some beautiful keys, but you might want to change the switches. This is the one that I have right now, 30. You might want to change the switches out to get, because they're hot swappable, to get ones that you really like. Now, my personal favorite switches are if you get something with Kale box white switches, which are really fantastic. Really fantastic. You can buy the switches themselves for $30 and swap them in. But if you want a keyboard that already comes with the switches that you want, you look here and see, okay, which keyboards come with it. For example, this Hex Gears here comes with it. That's $72. Obviously, depending on what you like, you might want a 10 keyless keyboard without the numpad, or something that's even less, without function keys. I'm partial to having all my keys and more, but some people like the space savings on their desk. So that's one thing that is, something to get, that I highly recommend. And that will change your life, because listen, you touch your keyboard how many times a day? Let's say you type, let's say you're not a great typist and you type 80 words a minute. 80 words a minute, let's say 5 characters per word, that's 400 keystrokes per minute. And maybe you're not typing at that speed all the time, but and every minute of the day. But let's say 400 keystrokes per minute, and you're typing, how many keystrokes a day? Tens of thousands, and you have a more pleasant experience. You're able to work a little faster, a little with less soreness. I mean, that's a game changer, right? Speaking of less soreness, a wrist rest. We at my job still love the HyperX wrist rest. It just hasn't been beaten. Uh, it it is just awesome because it has both a gel and a gel feel and cooling, and you can get it in different sizes. Now I get the full size, which now is actually not on any sale, is $20. But if you use a 10 keyless keyboard or you using a really small keyboard, then you could get a smaller one. But I would go with, the big one if you've got a full size keyboard. Like that's another thing, under $50, under $100, but it's going to change someone's life if they start using it, because it is such an life changing improvement, right? Now something else that could change someone's life for someone is a new SSD. Now, that's just something where if you're getting a gift for someone, better make sure you know what type of SSD their system takes. Do they have room for new SSD? If you're buying for yourself, then you should know, do you have an empty slot? Whatever the case, you really should get yourself a 2 terabyte SSD or larger at this point, because we can get 2 terabyte, high quality 2 terabyte SSDs for quite a reasonable price. Obviously, not the sale prices that they were last week, probably, but if you look at, say, the top two SSDs in terms of performance are the Samsung, for most people, unless you're getting a PCIe 5 drive, which a lot of motherboards don't support and is very expensive. You want a PCIe 4 SSD like the Samsung 990 Pro, which right now for a 2 terabyte is $130. Or the WD Black SN850X is another really strong choice. How much is that right now? That right now is $139. So of those two, obviously you go for the Samsung, but keep your eyes peeled, because on the Black Friday time period it was reversed, and the WD Black was actually $10 cheaper, and their performance was close enough that you really could say, okay, I'll get the WD instead. So that's something that can really change your life. Granted, you're going to be spending, maybe $125 if you want a really high-end one. You can find ones below 100 sometimes on sale that are good. The other thing is buying a new laptop. Well, buying a new laptop, that's obviously probably not, unless it's a very close family member, you're probably not going to buy like your third cousin removed a laptop, because that's quite pricey. But if you are that type of person, please let me know and I'll join your family. But if you buy somebody a laptop, whether it's for yourself or someone else, do not buy a laptop with only 8 gigabytes of RAM in it, or only a 256 gigabyte SSD. That might sound obvious, but there actually are products on the market that are fairly expensive, including the Apple MacBooks that come with 8 and 256, and you would be shocked. My top choice right now for a premium laptop buy is the ThinkPad X1 Carbon, which the link I have is for the one that's out of stock, but I'm sure it's not out of stock if you go and find the correct link for it. But which you can get for, it was $9.99. I haven't checked today. So yes, $9.99. You can get this. This is a Core i5 with 16 gig and 512. The one I would buy, I would prefer to. This is what I would buy for myself. But if I could splurge another $200, I would buy this config, which has 32 gigs of RAM, because you really need the RAM in 2023. And consider, when you buy someone a laptop, they're probably going to keep it for 3, 4, 5 years. 16 gigabytes is a bare minimum, right? You really can't get by with 8 anymore. And Frank, it's going to get to the point soon where 32 is a bare minimum. So even if you could go for 32, that's great. Most laptops charge you quite a premium for 32 these days, so just keep that in mind. When you're buying a gaming monitor, let's say you're buying somebody a monitor or yourself a monitor. If it is for gaming, I strongly recommend not getting one that's 1080p. There are several 1080p models that are like, can play at 400, 500 hertz. And if you're an esports gamer, then you might make that trade-off to have low resolution for high refresh rate. But my favorite monitor deal right now, and haven't checked to see if this is still a deal. Indeed, it is Dell's S322 DGM, 3222 DGM. This is a 32-inch model. It's curved. It has incredible contrast of like 3,700 and something to 1, thanks to its VA panel. It operates at up to 165 hertz, which should be more than adequate. And for pretty much any gaming that you're going to do. And it's obviously quite large. Now, if you are not doing gaming and you're just like me in it for the productivity, then I suggest getting a 4K monitor because that will give you, sharper images and more screen real estate. But if you want a 4K gaming monitor, you're going to pay a lot for that. So that I wouldn't recommend unless you've got lots of money to spend. The other thing, getting into my maker stuff, getting a soldering iron is great, but make sure you get the person one with a stand, or get them a really great quality stand in addition to it, because I've bought some cheap soldering iron kits and had them put it down and had it roll on the desk and burn me. So you want this little piece here that you solder that allows you to stick to. This is actually not a particularly great deal here. This was $40 before, but any soldering station that has something where you could put it to rest, I think put your soldering iron to rest is kind of key. Other things that I would recommend that are under $100 that really change someone's life. A great mouse. I absolutely love my Logitech MX Master 3S. If you're into productivity, it has wonderful programmable buttons. It even has a side scrolling wheel, and the Logi software allows you to make the programmable buttons do different things in different apps, which is great. The best deal on this is from B&H, which has it for $95. It's normally $100 elsewhere, which is not that much of a discount, but really great mouse. Also love how the scroll wheel is magnetic and automatically switches between like smooth and ratcheted scrolling. So that's really cool for scrolling down your pages. Other things that I really recommend or would make a great gift for someone or for yourself is a 7 to 10 port powered USB hub for your desktop. I love the Sabrent one. This is what I use. This was on a sale at one point for about $10 less. Still a great thing. Really great for being able to turn your ports on and off like the Switch audio devices, which is fantastic. Other things that will really change the game for someone. Obviously, if you've got a nice keyboard for someone, or they already have a nice keyboard, getting them a nice keycaps can change things. These are my keycaps that I absolutely love. I don't know if they're still on a sale. They still are. Yay, $79. I love these keycaps, these Dasher keycaps. I put them on my wish list last year. My sister-in-law bought them for me, and I was so excited to put them on. It's one of the biggest, nicest upgrades I've ever gotten. They feel great. They're designed to look like old terminal caps from a Data General keyboard. If you watch the Apple TV show Severance, these will look very familiar to you because the keyboards that they use have this style of keycaps on them, which is really cool. Finally, I want to say something else that is really inexpensive, that is a great game changer for yourself or someone else, is a power tower. That is a vertical power strip. particularly one like this one that has on-off switches for different sections of outlets. So let's say you want to put all of your monitors on one, and then you can just turn them off when you're not using your computer, and you never have to actually hit the on-off switch on the monitors, which is what I like on my setup. But then you could leave another set of outlets on for charging things. So anyway, I find having control of your power and being able to use it vertically is really helpful. Um, so those are just a few things that I recommend for folks where they can make a significant upgrade for themselves or others this holiday season.
So there's several in that collection that are already in mine. I use that same USB hub. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Great. I love it. I switch
There are a
I
few that
I switch between a Bluetooth plug-in headset, like there's a Bluetooth adapter, and for listening to music, but the microphone sucks, and the USB version of this guy. Actually, I think it's the same one you have. That's up in my office. So that I literally
yeah.
use the buttons to deal with that every day.
Yeah, it's also great for if you're like me and you use microcontroller boards like Arduino or RP2040 boards. They don't have on-off switches, and so if you want to reset them, you have to pull the cord in and out. And so
Mm,
what you can do is you can just hit the button on and off, and that resets that like turns your microcontroller board on and off, which is something you have to do a lot if you're programming it.
yeah.
And this is makes it a snap. The I mean, there's several different. If you find the Sabrent one to be expensive, there are other models that have on-off switches. But the reason I really like the Sabrent one, and I've tested a whole bunch of them, is the build quality is just really superior on it.
Yeah.
It's got the switches are really nice, really solid. They click. The lights are good. It's like really nicely made. Whereas there's some other ones that have similar functionality, but they just feel very cheap, um,
Yeah.
and they don't feel like they're going to last. So,
Agreed.
um, that's why I recommend that particular model. But
Well,
we have a list of the best USB hubs.
I bought that
Yeah,
model on your recommendation, and it was a
yeah,
great choice.
yeah, yeah. I have here. They recently sent me this 16 port model. But to
Ooh.
be honest, the 16 port model, the buttons on it aren't as nice.
Oh,
It's a
interesting.
different belt. It's a different design, and it's like kind of it's more plasticky. It's actually not as nice of a design on the 16 port as on the 10.
That's a
I was
shame.
hoping that it would be. Yeah, I was hoping because I could even use 16. Like I have all 10 of them filled right now, no problem.
Yeah.
Like, eh, and people have asked me how come that is. I don't know. There's just a lot of devices that I might use at one time or another, whether it's an external drive, microcontroller board, my microphone, my mouse, my keyboard, my webcam, my audio devices. It's very easy to use at 10 ports just like that.
Yeah, and I mean, in that regard, being able to quickly fill up 10, you and I may not be standard, but we're not too far off.
Yeah, it also is good for like there's things that devices you may not use every day, but you don't want to
Yeah.
lose them. So better to keep them plugged in. For example, a micro SD card reader, right?
Yeah.
I need to use that periodically, but not every single day. But if I just left it in a drawer, then I lose it. So I leave it plugged in. So, there's a few things like that where, yeah, sure, I could pull things in and out more often if I needed to, but I'd rather not. So,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
and having that
Totally makes
flexibility
sense.
on your desk is a real game changer. So, obviously there's things in life that in your tech life that seem like really big game changers, like upgrading your CPU, getting a whole new computer, getting a new monitor, which is one thing I mentioned there too. But like the things that you see and touch every day on your desk mean a lot, even the wrist rest.
Yeah, for sure. I've got the wrist rest up in the office. Uh, I have the step down from the mouse. I have the 2, not the 3, because I had some issues with the 3.
Really?
I don't know what. Yeah, something about the way my hand sits on it. I actually started to have problems with my
Ah,
wrist, and I had to go back to a 2.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I I have
Interesting.
not a wrap, but like a sling, not a sling, thing for it for my wrist. Because I went to the doctor and they're like, I don't know what's causing it, but you definitely need to change whatever it is. But here, put this on. And I discovered it. It was the mouse.
Interesting. I am really curious. One thing I'm really interested to see this coming year is Logitech every 2 years makes an update to this mouse. This past year they made an update to the small version, the MX Anywhere, which is fine, but I prefer the full mouse. The 3S was a not much of an update over the 3. So if someone sees the 3 and it's cheaper, by all means get that. There's really not much difference. But I wonder if now there's going to be a 4 and they're going to actually like try to do something interesting with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in that because this mouse is great, but there's even room there for improvement. Like I would like there to be more buttons, but that's just me.
Yeah. They've got a bit of a focus on the Logitech for creators or whatever it's becoming. We talked about it weeks ago. I'm hoping that that's not going to screw up their focus on other stuff.
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah. Because, they're, what,
I really
Blue
hope
and Mevo and something else. I think the Logitech for Creators brand was one of the other ones that's going away. All under something. We talked about it, and it's totally gone. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I'll give a new one a try. I like the mouse. When it's time for a mouse, I'll give a 4 a try for sure. But you obviously you started to say before you've got summaries.
We've got some pages on this stuff. Yeah, so come to Tom's Hardware. We've got stories about stuff not to buy, stuff to buy. We also have a page of best USB hubs, which the Saber is the top choice. That's so come check us out.
Well, great. As always, Avram, much appreciated. You obviously put your hands on way more things than I get to, and you can give great advice. I have not found any hardware advice you've given to be a miss. So that's great track record.
Thanks.
All right. Well, as always, I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. Well, Netflix is making a big move with their games brand. For those who don't know, Netflix has a service called Netflix Games as part of your existing subscription where you can get mobile games included. You can play them on your phone, tablet. And so far, most of the games have been either low profile or in-house IP. For example, a couple of games out of the Stranger Things catalog. Something from Love is Blind. I know there have been others as well, but those are the ones that come immediately to mind. And then other low impact things. Mahjong, a couple of Dash type games. But there's not been anything truly compelling in there. Until now. This month, December 2023, Netflix Games is going to add the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition. So those are like the three, what kind of everybody agrees are kind of the pinnacle games of the GTA franchise. It's GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. The timing on this is an interesting kind of middle ground of a couple of things going on. First, the initial trailer for GTA 6 is set to drop in a little less than, I think, 48 hours. I think it's Tuesday at 8 Eastern. So GTA is on people's minds right now. There are rumors based on the imagery, based on some, possible leaks, that GTA 6 is going to take place back in Vice City, of which that is one of the games included here. And we know that Netflix has been working on a prototype and a test of a TV-based service for their games. And perhaps this will all launch together. It would make sense. You'd be able to play from your from the mobile controller app that is available in the mobile app stores. And you could see the game on your TV. From what we understand, it's supposed to work somewhere in the category of the Google Stadia. We'll see how that works, once it launches wide. But this may be like, hey, look, we have this service, we're putting it on the TV, and here is a flagship launch game. I can definitely see that. And people are talking about GTA right now. It seems like a kind of a perfect storm of things that could really work out for Netflix here.
Yeah, so how would you play it on the TV? Like, is it something where there'd be controllers for your Roku? Like, how would you actually control such a game?
So, the thing that was really interesting about Google Stadia, one of the things that was really interesting was anywhere that the app existed, there was the controller actually could connect directly to Wi-Fi because it was all streamed. You don't have to have the commands and the visual connected in any way, shape, or form. And so you could connect the controller direct to your Wi-Fi. You could play. All you had to have was the app on your TV, and you were off and running. So it looks like that's how this works.
So you'll need to buy what? You'll need to buy a controller, a Wi-Fi controller?
It's a mobile app right now. They've already got, it's already in the store. We talked about this ages ago now. When they first started this test, there is a mobile app that you can download that is a mobile controller that is adjustable in controls, so it can adjust game to game. And then there's the possibility that hardware could come. But to launch, all they would need is a place where the Netflix app already exists on a smart TV, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, wherever, and the Wi-Fi connected, the network connected mobile switch or mobile controller.
But then you're playing on your phone, right? I mean, you're using your phone as the
As the
controller,
controller. So you'd be
which is
playing
not
here,
necessarily a great experience.
right? So it's always possible that hardware could come. There's always the possibility that they will support controllers on the platforms that have them. The gaming consoles, any TV that can have a controller plugged into it. For example, the LG TVs. I know for a fact you can plug an Xbox controller into them because that worked on Stadia as well. So there are other possibilities. You know, a lot of Samsung TVs have, and I think Sony TVs have Bluetooth, so maybe you could pair an Xbox or a PlayStation controller to those and play. So there's lots of possibilities, but there's always this fallback, just like with the Stadia controller. There's always this fallback that you don't have to have anything connected to the device, that you can play as a controller here and the screen there, and then possible hardware. Who knows? If they're smart, they'd put out a firmware update to repurpose Google Stadia controllers to target their Wi-Fi instead. But
Yeah, yes, that would be good, right?
that's what I would
But
do.
I guess we'll see.
If I were Netflix, I would pull a Red Octane and repurpose existing hardware if I could. 'Cause that's what Red Octane did that with the DDR cabinets. They put out their own game, and it fit into and worked in a Dance Dance Revolution cabinet. And then they got sued for it, and they got bought, and there was a whole thing. But repurpose existing hardware, especially hardware that's been abandoned.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm still waiting for a great repurpose of the QCat, and I know you have a bunch, so we'll figure it out.
Indeed.
But yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think it's great that you have to pay any extra for this or
Mm-mm.
no? Yeah, so
Nope.
why not?
Part of your existing subscription. Basically, they want to combine the video streaming and the game streaming into one thing, right? With this on your TV, you could stream it. If it's on your mobile device, you can download it. So they want to be a little bit of Xbox and a little bit of Netflix in one subscription. It's an interesting concept. Again, we have not seen this on the TV yet. There is an alpha or a beta that has been out for a while. The app has been available in the store for a while. We don't know where they are. They have not announced a launch date on this, but honestly, if the launch of the TV thing doesn't come shortly behind this, I'll be surprised. Or
Yeah.
if they pull an Apple or a Microsoft and just go, "Hey, guess what's coming this afternoon?" Like what Microsoft did with Hi-Fi Rush. They announced it at like 10 a.m. and by 2 it was on the Xbox.
Well, always possible.
Yeah. So we'll see. There's information from the people who have been testing about how the technology works and how it works in the app. But we don't have anything official from the company. But fingers crossed. It would be really cool if they launch this with the big picture mode, the TV based game streaming. It would be super cool if those things came together. It would put them in a really interesting place. You and I talk about it all the time, right? The streaming services, there are so many of them. There's subscription fatigue, and everybody's looking for some sort of a hook. If
Yeah, but this is pretty far off from serious cloud gaming, it seems to me.
maybe I have to see it in action, but it's possible. If this is the first 3 titles that launch and they work well, and they've got other stuff, ready to push right behind it. It could in the right categories, it could, be the thing that makes somebody, if somebody's trying to decide between, Netflix and Hulu or Netflix and Paramount, it could be the decider.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
I'm not convinced, but
Yeah,
sure.
it's something that we'd have to see because again, it's not out there yet. We'll have to see how it affects the company, but there is the possibility that it could, you know, if they take on the contracts that Google lost, right, when Stadia failed, for example, maybe they could build a big catalog real quick and it could actually be a contender. No telling. We'll definitely. I've been keeping an eye on this. It is a fascinatingly weird move that could be a huge success or a comical failure. Either way, I will definitely have these games on my phone as soon as I can.
Yep.
This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. If you've been around the show for a while, you know that COPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, is a big topic for us. If you're not aware of it, it is a law that creates a whole variety of rules around what can and cannot be done with data related to any child under 13. If you've ever noticed, online services tend to say you must be 13 to sign up, and that's because they don't want to deal with this at all. However, just by saying it is not enough. You have to actually be not just reactive, but pretty proactive on ensuring that even that terms of service rule is followed. And Meta is in a lot of trouble over exactly that. So here's what we've got. We have two lawsuits. One against Meta and one from Meta. The one against Meta was filed a couple weeks ago by a collection of states over the way that Meta deals with accounts of people under 13. We know that they exist. Facebook, Instagram, Threads have kids on them.
Yep.
But the company is supposed to respond to reports of terms of service violation, particularly those under 13, and act accordingly, essentially lock the accounts. But data that was unredacted this week as part of the complaint filed in this lawsuit shows that no, that's not happening. In 2021, 406,000 complaints. 402,000 complaints were made, and they only addressed 164,000 of them. So that's less than half were even addressed, which means that some of them are going to be false. Some of them are going to be people that look younger than they are, things like that. But certainly not more than 50%. So that means that
Who's reporting it?
users. It happens a
So
lot.
users.
Yeah, it's part of the reporting system. It's the same as if there is nudity or hate speech or any of that stuff. It's the same reporting. Underage is one of the choices. And so they received 402,000 reports in 2021, and they only addressed 164,000. So less than half. Not great. And overall, between 2019 and mid this year, as the lawsuit was being prepared, they'd received 1.1 million reports. And so if you look at that, it would be less than 500,000 were addressed if it's the same ratio. So that's not great. The company has actually said in front of Congress in testimonies that they address each and every complaint, which creates some hot water for them. But the states can't address potential perjury in front of Congress, but they can address this and violations. So that suit was filed, and we learned some new information this week because some of it was unredacted. I apologize. On the other hand, there's an interesting situation where Meta has sued the Federal Trade Commission over over the potential of not being able to monetize data collected from kids. But it's important to note this is not 12 and under. This is 13 to 18. So there was a settlement in 2020 over other privacy concerns with children with the FTC. And part of that said that they would not monetize any of the data that was collected on users under 13. The FTC is trying to amend that to be under 18. Meta's not having it. Their pitch is essentially they are legal users of the platform. COPA doesn't apply here. Our settlement doesn't apply here. You're trying to amend it. You're trying to essentially be prosecutor and judge on this. Mm-hmm. And that is a violation of our constitutional rights. So it's going to be a really interesting case. But while they're fighting this case against the FTC, they're also being sued for the other side of it. So the timing isn't great on the situation for them, right? Because, it's hard to say we want to monetize. We want to not adjust the terms of a settlement over child privacy violations while being sued for child privacy violations. It's definitely a tenuous situation that they're in, but the argument that they've made in the FTC case is fairly sound, right? The FTC is trying to be both a prosecutor and a judge in this case, saying, we're amending this. You've whatever. We're changing the terms of what you agreed to. A little weird.
I've altered our deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Indeed. Yeah. It comes across a little mafia-y, which isn't great.
Like Darth Vader when he says, and anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Space
so,
mafia. I got it.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. If you're, listen, Meta, I mean, I hate to be Zuckerberg's advocate, but Meta is providing a service. The 13-year-olds are using the service.
Mm-hmm. The 17-year-olds are using the service.
Right. The 13 to 17-year-olds are using the service. Therefore, they have to make money off of them. Now,
right.
Are they making money off of them if they don't sell the data? I don't know. But I mean, also, I'm not really sure if I see a material harm. Like, what data are they selling? They're just having advertisers get data about people?
Probably. It's probably just targeted ad sales.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the better question is, here's the problem. You really cannot, without spending a lot of money, cannot provide children with an ad-free experience. Like, my daughter's very young, and we let her watch some videos on YouTube, and she's gotta like hit the skip button, and she's seeing ads for stuff. So like, you know, is she being targeted? Well, it's my account, I guess, so I'm being targeted, whatever, with with ads. But like, you know, it's come on. Also, kids were targeted with have been targeted with ads since the beginning of time. I mean, ever watch Saturday morning cartoons when they used to
Yeah.
have them?
Yeah.
Think they were targeting your parents with those ads for cereal,
Right.
the ads for toys.
Right.
Um,
But in
so
fairness, that was a general targeting based on the content versus
right.
specific targeting based on the watch history,
I mean,
which requires collecting the watch history against an account, which Copa does not allow.
yeah, but if they're over 13, it does allow it,
It
right?
does, yes.
So
Exactly.
so listen,
Yeah.
it's
The
it's one of the
FTC the FTC has essentially waded into weird territory here. I don't know if they're trying to expand Copa like against Meta, or I don't know exactly what they're trying to
I
accomplish
mean,
here, but
you would
I
need
don't
to
think
go
they have the
back.
authority to do it.
I don't either. I think if this is such a concern, then and I think there might even well be bipartisan support for such a thing,
Mm-hmm.
to expand COPA to 18. But there would be some issues because you have a lot of young folk who are on, social media. And so are they all going to be kicked off? Or are they just going to start lying and saying that they're 18? Like, are they going to use their parents' accounts?
Right.
Like, unfortunately, kids end up on different services,
Mm-hmm.
because, um, you know, online, because you can't really, unless, the one of the things that shocked me as a parent when I first became a parent many years ago was like how quickly my son got online, right? Like
Uh-huh.
how young he was when he was first like starting to use video games and computers and tablets and things like that. How quickly he was on stuff, and we still really try to shield him from anything where he's going to interact with strangers.
Right.
Um, but I know a lot of people with kids younger who they let them play games like Fortnite, where isn't the whole point that you're there interacting with strangers?
Yep.
So some of whom are most likely adults.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, I think it's very and like, Roblox has a very checkered reputation, and a
Uh-huh.
lot of kids play that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of
Roblox has
issues.
all kinds of other issues as well, though, outside of just that
Yeah,
one.
right. So, I think there's a lot, obviously there's a lot of controversy about TikTok and
Mm-hmm.
kids getting influenced by things that, say, the Chinese government might be interested in them to know.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah,
Or if you step away from that, the weird trends that happen that often on TikTok, which oftentimes end up being dangerous.
right. And it might also be that those are things that the Chinese government wants them to know,
Fair
right? I
enough.
mean, or
Fair enough.
whatever. It's not all necessarily about China necessarily. I
Sure.
mean, it might be
Sure.
that they're allowing things that are whatever. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah, I think there's obviously some issues here. It was interesting to me at the time that Copa came out, which now is going back like 21 years.
Yeah.
But I was working in the industry before it came out, and when it came out, and I was working at about.com, they had to lock some things down that weren't locked down before,
Yep.
and get rid of some features like open chat rooms that they had. And it was interesting to me at the time, and still today, that the government decided that 13 was the line. Like your teenager 13 was the line. So now,
Yeah.
if you get your bar mitzvah, you literally are an adult in the eyes of COPA, right? It's the only thing that you can say that like is
Yeah.
truly consistent with your bar mitzvah, or just turning 13 if you're not Jewish. The is the only thing that is real the benefit that you get from turning 13, because when you turn 16 you get a driver's license, and you can get a driver's license in most states. Some states you can get a learner's permit at 15, I think.
Yep.
14 in some states you can get a work permit, although now I think there's some states that have made it 12, which I think is a little much. Right, but when I was growing up, 14 was the absolute youngest you could get a work permit with a signature from your parents. So 13 didn't really get you anything. You didn't get any perks for being 13. But since COPA, you get a perk, which is you get to be like an adult, the equivalent of an adult online.
Yeah. You
So,
do get to be called a teenager.
Yes, you get to be called a teenager. You don't get any real like legal perks.
Yeah.
There's so many perks that you get when you're growing up. Now, when you get to be, after you hit like 25, there's no more perks. It's like it's just a downer after that, right?
Yeah,
until you draw
Social
Security or something. Until you draw Social Security and Medicare or something, you don't get any perks, right? It's just a downer. Whereas almost every year you're getting new perks when you're when you're a teenager, like, ability to work legally, ability to drive at night, ability to be charged as an adult, ability to vote, ability to enlist in the army, ability to drink, ability to rent a car for most car rental places, like, but after all of that, you just kind of, it's just kind of a fail. But now you can see that 13 is the COPA line. You can legally get an account and have your data passed around just like the rest of us.
Woohoo! Yeah. Oh, the being able to be charged as an adult, I was not prepared for that one.
I mean, honestly, I'm just throwing it in because I don't think there's a particular line for that one.
There's not
in most states.
That one broke me though. I wasn't prepared for that.
but anyway, yeah. So I think I have to side with Facebook here. If they want to turn,
which is weird to do,
right? If they want to turn 13-year-olds back into legal online children, then they need to pass a new law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the FTC can't just decree it, and they can't apply it indiscriminately to one company. If it's going to be a rule, it's going to have to be a rule, and I think and obviously that requires an act of Congress. So the second part of this, I feel like Meta's going to win, and the first part of this, I feel like Meta's going to lose. A lot.
Sounds about right.
Because they've literally lost this case at the federal level once before. It's how we got here. So they're fighting it now at a state level with new data, essentially claiming that they haven't fixed the problem. So the first one, I think they're going to lose by a lot, and the second one, I think they're going to win, because there seems like there's no way a court can uphold the FTC trying to do this. So we'll see how it shakes out, but I think we already know the direction it's going to go. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming. plus a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. Over the last year or so, we have seen a lot of media companies, whether it be Netflix or Disney or WB, Paramount, cancel shows and movies that were far into production, sometimes completed, sometimes already out in the wild. Oftentimes it has been for tax reasons. Disney famously cut a bunch of stuff from Hulu and Disney Plus a couple months back. Netflix has done it as well. Paramount Plus cut some stuff. And then there's what happened at Warner Brothers. And there's been a lot of questions over what exactly was going on, in particular with Batgirl. We talked about this several months ago. The movie was fully filmed and edited. Post-production had not been done. And it was shelved indefinitely. The movie was canceled, not going to come out. They said bad test screenings, which is an interesting and vague way of dealing with it. And there's mostly not been any response since. Until now. There have been two different comments from two different people regarding the cancellation of Batgirl. The first is, I guess the second is the first is Peter Safran, who is the co-head of DC Studios, who said fully outright, this movie was unreleasable. Now that's a big statement, right? Lots of bad movies have been released to the public. We see it happen all the time. But Safran went so far as to say, where is it? I think they really stood up to support DC, the characters, the story, the quality, and all that. I actually think that Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, and the team made a very bold and courageous decision to cancel it because it would have hurt DC. It would have hurt the people involved. And he went on to say that actors, writers, producers, everybody involved would have had their careers damaged by the release of this film. Now, I mean...
Have they not seen the other movie?
That may be a factor into this statement, for all we know. It may have been so bad that it made the other ones look like shining stars. Which is a frightening prospect.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't know. If it were the only time such a thing happened, then I'd believe them. I mean, I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced at all. Also, if there was a problem, they could have fixed it, right? I mean, they could have done some reshoots, or they didn't even finish the special effects. So
potentially. Though some of the comments from internal said that the script was a mess right from the beginning, and that the film was...
Why'd they let it film then?
Because it was a different group of people in charge. All of this happened...
Yeah, okay, so in other words...
All of this happened in the transition from Warner Media to Warner Brothers Discovery, and from the former DC Studios to the new pair running it. So it was different decision makers.
Right. But here's but it seemed, I don't know. I'm very, very skeptical of this. I'm very skeptical of this story. It doesn't add up for me. I mean, yeah, I suppose they were concerned that, like, hey, we're gonna have a bad movie, but on the other hand, they've trashed a lot of they trashed like a lot of other movies and other projects too. So this is the most flagrant of them, but then they pulled some other things off that
Sure.
were on. So I'm not convinced at all that this is, like, the fact that they're saving money on it, like, is
Yeah.
really suspect to me. I think, there's been, now I have to tell you, like, this kind of, like, we can pull the content at any time
Uh huh.
really motivated me to do something yesterday. So that girl was on my mind yesterday.
Okay.
What did they there wasn't there some study the other day that I didn't make any sense, that, like, the average man thinks about the Roman Empire 3 times a week.
Yep.
I never, almost never think, I'm sorry, I almost never think about the Roman Empire. I don't know what it says about me. But but I mean, maybe I think about things that are come out of the Roman Empire, but the result of the Roman Empire. But anyway, so I'm not sitting there every day being like, oh, should I have another Diet Coke, or should I think about a Centurion? Anyway, but or whether, Augustus or Octavius was better. But the but I do think about Batgirl periodically, because, I'll start thinking, like, if there's something I want to see on streaming, I better see it now, because who knows if they're going to yank it at some point.
Uh huh.
So yesterday I was sitting with my wife, and we had talked about, like, we wanted to watch Blue Beetle, which is now on Max, and I said, we better watch it now, because who knows if they're going to pull it down at some point. Not that I have any information to suggest that they will,
Right.
but who knows. So I better watch the Blue Beetle right now, just in case,
Yeah.
because I understand there were some other movies that have been out for a while. There was some, like, I forget, some type of, like, not Dungeons and Dragons, but, like, dungeon fantasy type of movie that has been pulled down forever. There are a whole bunch of movies that have come out, been on streaming, and been pulled down forever. So all that we have left of them is someone's memory of having watched it.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I think is a terrible tax loophole and should be eliminated.
Closed.
But yes, I'm sorry, should be closed, because, like, clearly this isn't
Yeah.
the reason why you allow people to write losses off, so they could basically set an insurance fire to get rid of something that's a loss. But
Yeah.
you know, so I think if it weren't part of a larger pattern, I could sooner believe that.
Yeah.
But because
And
there's such a big pattern of it, I don't believe it.
and so it's interesting that you say that. So unrelated to this story, a couple of weeks ago, like 2.5 weeks ago, Christopher Nolan said, if you enjoyed Oppenheimer, buy it on Blu-ray, because you never know when it'll get yanked from streaming.
Right. Exactly. He's right. I mean, there's yanked and there's yanked too, right? Like,
Right.
there's things that
There's switching from
they're not
Netflix to Peacock, but then there's
right.
then there's this series is gone forever. The Captain Janeway animated series, that was
Right.
a Paramount Plus exclusive, is gone.
Prodigy.
Yeah, Prodigy. It's gone.
Right. Right. Now, maybe someday someone will get it back, but yeah, like, if you had your chance to watch it, you better. So, yeah, there's a really good argument. And it's funny, because Best Buy, what is it? Best Buy announced that they're getting out of the physical media business. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if that means that Amazon's going to stop selling physical media and companies are going to stop producing physical media.
Right.
But yeah, you kind of gonna need physical media to uh, preserve movies.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
to preserve them the original way, right? Because
True,
that
yes, they might end up like
lo-
Star Wars too, right?
well, I was so Star Wars, great example. Watching Family Guy again on Hulu, background noise, right? Um, there was an episode that I have seen or heard. I don't want to say how many times is likely, because it's beyond unhealthy. But the the point is, there was a song in it that didn't used to be there.
What? Oh,
Yep.
because of rights?
No, they added a scene. They added a song to the episode that didn't used to be there.
Why?
There is a joke from The Office. A particular joke that I look for whenever I go back through that one. This last time, joke's gone. So you literally have to preserve it in its original format because they're adjusting published stuff on the fly. Episodes of The Office. That show hasn't even been on for a decade. And yet they're
Yeah,
making
yeah,
changes to it.
yeah. No question about it. So you need to get. It's a problem. Um, I remember, I believe we talked about on a show a long time ago how Kindle had pulled some, like Amazon had pulled some titles people had bought.
Yeah.
Was it they bought a copy of 1984 and it was pulled off
It was
or something
Kindle.
like
It
that?
was Kindle and Amazon Prime Video. It was video purchases, whole movies.
Right. So, in other words, you need physical media also because if you buy something,
Mm-hmm.
if you buy something digitally, you may not even get to keep it.
Yep. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
So the cloud is not forever. The cloud is subject to rights issues and things like that. So,
Yep.
yeah, I really, um, I think it's a real problem.
Yeah. And kind of all of that
So,
culminates here, right? Because these films were canceled for tax reasons. Prodigy was dumped for tax reasons. Now, that's not the reason why there's a new song in Family Guy and a missing joke from The Office, but but you mentioned Star Wars. It's the most famous example of somebody tweaking existing content to an
but
extent
not the
where it's
only one by
almost
far.
almost unrecognizable. But it certainly like put it into the cultural zeitgeist that this happens. This is going to happen, and now it happens constantly. So, yeah, physical media is the only way to ensure that you keep things as they were. Because, like you mentioned, sometimes it's just rights changes to a song. The the opening song of season two's premiere of Sports Night, if you watch it in streaming today, is not what it was when it was on television because they've lost the rights to the song.
Yeah.
So, it's a weird little change, and it's the kind of thing that most people would probably never notice, but I have problems, and it was the first thing I noticed when the episode started. There's a song in Heroes, I think, that has changed since published. There's all kinds of this. So, yeah, if you liked it the way the directors and producers planned it, the only way to keep it is physical media. And we almost certainly have to deal with this tax loophole. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate it. If you did not and would like to in the future, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us, give us feedback about the topics as we talk about them. If you're not able to join us live, that is okay as well. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows. F5 Live, Pilch Point, PLUGHITZ Live presents a whole lot more. And all the ways that watch, listen, and follow along. We are here at the beginning of January. I cannot believe that in a month, a little longer for Avram, but I think exactly in a month for me, I will be in Las Vegas getting ready for CES, building studios and such. So, holy cow, I can't believe we're almost there. There will be a ton, obviously, of content coming to PLUGHITZ Live Presents during CES. We suspect it'll be somewhere around 160 segments this year. So definitely check that out. If you want to join the community over on YouTube, you can join over there for a small amount per month, and as those interviews are edited, they are available for you. So definitely check that out. And I think with that, lots of unboxings and how-tos coming this week, so check that out as well at plughitzlive.com/unboxed and plughitzlive.com/howto. And with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we'll see you back next time. Ciao.